Now at 10, a man is sentenced in Vernon County after a homicide. Plus, KOAM's Amber Jenkins speaking with a Joplin police officer on his return to work after an injury. Some four-staters taking advantage of this nice weather, hitting the river to cool down.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
A man has been sentenced after a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri. This is KOAM News at 10. Officials say they found the body of 49-year-old Timothy Goodman of Mount Vernon in a parked car. Authorities say Michael Jones was originally charged with second-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse, but he took an Alford plea deal for voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years in the Department of Corrections with credit for 5 years served and a $68 CVC fee. Officials sentenced a man suspected of arson in Joplin. Authorities arrested Kerry Long after he broke into a home, stole property, then set the house on fire. Long faced charges of second-degree burglary and second-degree arson, but the arson charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation after taking a plea deal. Many lives changed after the March 8th shooting that killed 2 Joplin police officers, injured another. Today, though, that officer is back on duty. Reporter Amber Jenkins speaking with Officer Rick Hershey about his experience.
Officer Rick Hershey returns to light duty at Joplin Police after recovering from the March 8 shooting. He dedicates his successful recovery to his family, Joplin Police Department, and the support of the community.
I had tons of support. My family, my son and daughter-in-law, they come down, and so they were here until I went home from the hospital. Of course, my wife, the police department family.
Doctors said that the path of the bullet was a 1 in a million chance of not being fatal.
If you've seen my x-rays, the path this bullet took was unbelievable.
Hershey knows how blessed he is to report back to duty after the shooting. He will always have his falling officers in mind.
Cooper was actually a trainee of mine going on 20 years ago. So I've known Coop for a long, long time. Jake, I got to interact with him quite a bit. You know, both great guys, great cops.
Officer Hershey values that he can rely on his fellow officers during these critical times. He thanks Captain Davis for showing up when he needed him the most.
God helped him be at the right place at the right time.
Yes.
Because again, he was way across town, but he showed up at the exact point of, I'm going, okay, well, I've been shot. Everything still works. Plan B is, move my car. Okay, let me move my car.
Despite doctors saying he will not fully heal until next year, Officer Hershey knows this is his calling.
Because when I retired, I was ready to be done, but I felt I was being called back, that I wasn't done here. And so I listened, and I came back.
Amber Jenkins, KOAM, Joplin, Missouri.
Hershey was hospitalized for 8 days, spent 96 days recovering at home. Welcome back, sir. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joining us now. Those dangerous temperatures continue, man.
And I think it might get even more dangerous before we can get a break from this by early next week, Jordan. But in the meantime, we've been keeping nice and quiet as we wrap up the first day of a new work week. 63 was where we started. Nice mild start this morning, but an easy jump, unfortunately, back into the lower 90s. Most of us around 92 this afternoon. Thankfully, we're keeping quiet for the rest of the night. That's the easier part of the forecast. Then our focus will be turning to this storm system off to the north and west. That is going to be our next storm system that could try to change things up by Wednesday, maybe by this time tomorrow night for a couple of us. But everyone's warm, everyone's dry, upper 70s to near 80. Factor in the humidity that we do have, though, it feels like the lower and even some still mid-80s out there. Thankfully, throughout the course of the night, we'll keep quiet, but the humidity will only allow us to drop back to about 72 to start the morning out. I think we're dry during the day tomorrow, Jordan, but back into the mid-90s for tomorrow. But I'm tracking rain chances, more heat, but a big pattern change by early next week. We'll break it all down for everybody here in a few.
Nick Kelly, thank you so much. Father's Day is over, but we're still celebrating good dads. And that happens to be the name of the program provided through the Alliance of Southwest Missouri here in Joplin. Good Dads program is in its second year of helping non-custodial fathers establish a relationship with their children. Tonight, both past and present graduates of the 15-week course got together to have some fun with their kids, doing arts and crafts and bonding over games. One graduate shares why he recommends the program.
Any father out there that is struggling with relationships with their kids and things like that, you're going to learn lots of tools and techniques through this program, which has helped me a lot, especially to communicate with my teenager.
The next Good Dads class will begin on July 11th. It's free to sign up. If you or someone you know would like to register, you can learn more by checking out this article on our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. A ribbon cutting ceremony was held today over at Irving Elementary for shade canopies. You see them there in the background. Irving PTO worked nearly 2 years on the fundraising for this project. Sponsors include Arvis Foundation, Mercy Hospital, and other local businesses. The playground now has 4 canopies to keep kids and staff safe on these very hot days.
We're just out here to obviously support the kids, support the school, support the community. We are so excited to be able to give the canopies, make the donation to the schools to hopefully provide much needed shade.
In addition to the sponsors, the named sponsors, an anonymous partner offered to donate full installation services, saving an estimated $12,000 in additional project costs. 15 campers building Legos to their heart's desire. How cool is that? This week-long camp at Joplin Museum Complex lets children from ages 5 to 12 build themed projects, Lego games and competitions, making Lego snacks and more. The purpose of the camp is to get kids interacting with each other, just have some fun in this side this summer.
Yeah, it's a nice break for the parents. It's 1 to 4, so they get some time, and it's also indoors with the heat right now. It's kind of tough to have kids outdoors, but this still gets them engaging and active.
Now, the cost of the camp includes snacks, prizes. Campers receive a new Lego set each day. Cool as that. Coming up.
January 6th Select Committee on Tuesday will focus on the former president's pressure campaign on state and local elections officials. I'm Natalie Brand on Capitol Hill with a preview.
Plus, how inflation has made an impact on infrastructure projects.
The same as usual?
No one was hurt, goodness, thankfully, when the pilot of this airplane made an emergency landing on an Oklahoma highway. The incident happened Saturday on the Cimarron Turnpike near Glencoe in Payne County. 2 people were inside the plane, didn't want to talk on camera, but said they were okay. A number of emergency agencies responded, including the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, also Glencoe firefighters. Crews were able to safely divert traffic and remove the plane from the turnpike. There's no word on why the plane was forced to make the emergency landing. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol holds its 4th hearing tomorrow. California Democrat Adam Schiff is going to lead the questioning. 4 witnesses expected to testify, including about death threats they received due to the false claims of fraud by former President Trump. Reporter Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with these details.
The 4th hearing of the House committee investigating January 6th will focus on former President Trump's efforts to pressure state election officials into overturning the 2020 election.
We'll show during a hearing what the president's role was in trying to get states to name alternate slates of electors.
On Tuesday, key witnesses included GOP leader in Arizona state legislature, as well as Georgia's Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. 4 days before the January 6th attack, Mr. Trump called Raffensperger in this now infamous phone call.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Former Georgia election worker Shay Moss, who was falsely accused by the former president of a fake ballot scheme, will tell the committee about death threats she received.
The committee says the former president's insistence that the election was stolen helped fuel the crowd on January 6th. In recent days, he continued those false claims.
We had a rigged and stolen election.
Mr. Trump also criticized his vice president, Mike Pence, for not participating in his scheme.
Mike Pence had a chance to be great.
Pence did not respond to the attack during a speech in Chicago Monday and made just a brief and indirect reference to January 6th.
You know, we've all been through a lot over the last several years. A global pandemic, a divisive election, a tragic day in our nation's capital.
Members of the committee say they have not ruled out issuing a subpoena for Pence to testify. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger, a Republican on the committee, says he recently received a written death threat against him, his wife, and his 5-month-old baby. President Biden expected to make 2 big decisions that will have an impact on Americans' finances. First, Today, the president said he may decide soon on whether he will temporarily pause the federal gasoline tax. This after several lawmakers floated the idea of a gas tax holiday. The president also saying he's nearing a decision on student loan relief, but did not give any details on his possible plan for forgiving student debt. Inflation taking a toll on infrastructure projects across the U.S. Rising prices for materials like asphalt, steel, iron pipes are driving up the cost to build roads, bridges, rail lines, and water mains. The prices for some infrastructure materials have risen even faster than the general consumer prices. State and local officials say inflation is diminishing the value of a $1 trillion federal infrastructure law signed by President Joe Biden just 7 months ago. Some officials say inflation has forced them to delay or scale back the scope of projects. Facebook removing a campaign video by U.S. Senate candidate Eric Greitens for, quote, violating policies prohibiting violence and incitement, because the ad showed the Republican brandishing a shotgun and declaring that he was hunting rhinos, or Republicans in name only. Greitens, a former governor who resigned in 2018, says, quote, get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save our country. The video comes at a time of renewed focus on gun violence and violence in politics. U.S. aircraft maker Boeing revealing its new 2022 Eco Demonstrator plane. It's a converted 20-year-old 777-200ER that will be used for testing new technologies aimed at making air travel more sustainable and safer. The Eco Demonstrator is going to go through a 6-month series of tests on the ground and in the sky starting this summer. It has tested about 230 technologies, and Boeing says about a third of them have already been incorporated into its products and services. Out a bit later, 4-staters taking to the rivers to cool off from the hot weather.
And speaking of cooling off, we're doing that temporarily for tonight, but how long is the heat going to stick around? Forecast next. It felt like we've been saying hot for quite some time. Funny to say that considering we officially kick off summer tomorrow, but it does help to keep things in perspective. So considering how we're about 2/3 away through the month of June, it's worth looking back to see how we fared. To start the month out, as you remember, we had to wrap up a wet May and a wet start to the month of June, which actually kept temperatures right around 80 degrees. But once we hit the 7th, and certainly the 11th, we put up with a 10-day stretch pretty much of highs warming well above normal, and that did include today's high of 92 degrees. We're going to see more of that red fill up before a good pattern change, fingers crossed, comes our way by early next week. Right now, though, indigo sky, the live shot there, and from 7th and Rangeline, all showing quiet skies all across the area, which is allowing temperatures to drop off. Still warm and a bit muggy, though. 81 degrees with the south breeze at 5. Just keeping that dew point in the upper 60s gives you an idea of where temperatures for some may drop out tonight. But for now, a dew point is making it feel like we're in the mid-80s still at the 10 o'clock hour. Upper 70s to lower 80s as far as your air temperatures go, but you factor in those dew points, it still feels like the lower to middle 80s across a good portion of the region. Eventually, we'll drop back into the lower 70s tonight as we continue with mostly clear skies in the Skywatch storm tracker. What I'm tracking next, a cold front coming in from the northwest. That's going to finally graze us as we go through the middle of the week as this upper level high starts to buckle down a little bit and shift off toward the south and southwest a little bit. But as long as it's still in charge, it's going to do its darndest to make sure that we stay hot temporarily. We're going to see a little bit of a break from the heat going through the overnight and to get your Tuesday morning started. Mostly clear abound, skies that is, and then we'll drop back into the lower 70s. Going throughout the course of the day, before that incoming front can come close enough to throw something at us, I'm expecting us to stay dry during the day, certainly during much of the afternoon. You see as that front approaches from the north and west, it's going to try to spark some scattered thunderstorms out in northeastern and central parts of Kansas. Around here, I think we can get by most of the day on a dry note, but it's going to be another hot one, unfortunately. 72 in the morning, 90 by noon. Highs are 95 for the first official day of summer, and with the humidity in place, it could feel like 100 to about 103 during the afternoon. Going into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, here comes the front. It's going to park itself near or just to the north of the I-70 corridor, but you can see how it wants to try to bring some scattered thunderstorm chances our way, at least for some, tomorrow night going into Wednesday morning, and with that front still around, it's going to push highs back down into the lower 90s, but it's going to keep some scattered thunderstorms in the forecast. We'll do it all again for Thursday, lower 90s with some scattered storms, but then the front lifts back north because of that upper ridge building back in. That'll push us into the upper 90s, maybe a couple spots close to 100 for Friday and Saturday, but this is the big weather change I'm watching. As long as this holds going into early next week, and Sunday in particular, late night storms Saturday going into Sunday, but look at what it does with that upper level ridge. It squashes it, and we'll be thankful once that ridge really shoves back to the south and west of the region. 95 tomorrow, 92 Wednesday, 91 Thursday, upper 90s, the hottest days in the 7-day stretch, Jordan, then lower 80s for high Sunday and Monday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, 61 for Monday morning.
Yeah, low 60s at nighttime. Seems awesome.
Yeah, for Jim, we'll take it.
No kidding. Kelly, thank you so much as always. Community Blood Center of the Ozarks is asking for help to replenish blood supply levels for Southwest Missouri. According to the organization, blood reserves are low, with less than 2 days' supplies available. Health officials say the reason behind the shortage is some lingering effects of the pandemic, also time of year. CBCO supplies blood, platelets, and plasma to 44 area healthcare facilities. Some swimmers who had plans to go to Parsons Lake probably going to have to find a new spot. In an effort to keep swimmers and lake users safe, officials have closed Lake Parsons in Parsons, Kansas until further notice. They say excessive erosion in recent months has revealed some sort of hazard that was placed in the beach. The city is currently in the process of removing the hazard. Hey, if your signal of KOAM or Fox 14 becomes glitchy, it's a sign of progress. We've started broadcasting from a lower temporary antenna while a crew installs a new, more technically advanced antenna at the top of our tower. Big tower. It's the final step in our More Power project. This is going to allow some viewers who previously lost our signal to get us once again. Now, if all goes to plan, we'll be back up and stronger than ever soon. Still ahead, going to take a trip to the beautiful Elk River and talk to some people about their experiences there. Something that sounds good right now is a nice tall glass of sweet iced tea and swimming. Some four-staters are beating the heat by going out and swimming in the river, as we see behind me. Elk River, in particular, as many of us know, is a popular spot in McDonald County for river lovers to go out and camp, kayak, go floating with a group of friends. KOAM photojournalist Ty Parks got some different views of the area.
Well, you have these beautiful mountains in southwest Missouri. I mean, they are gorgeous mountains, and they have tons of these little streams.
We just enjoy it. It's nice. It's I don't want to say it's a peaceful float because there's always a lot of people, but the river's wide. It's beautiful. Lots of nice gravel bars to stop on. A little more fun later in the year when it warms up a little, but it's still a beautiful day today. We like it because the water's clean. There's a lot of good swimming spots. It's still deep, but lots of good gravel bars to stop at. So, and there's always lots of excitement. There's always plenty of people. It's fun to people watch, that's for sure. It's more fun to float rivers where you can see what's going on in the river for me. I mean, I enjoy watching like the wildlife, the turtles, stuff like that. So you see a lot of wildlife on this river. You can see the fish swimming a lot of times. So for me, that's enjoyable. I mean, when I say clean, obviously there's beer cans floating around here and there, but overall the rivers, I consider it to be a clean river. Oh, it's great. This is a good river to start on. You don't have a lot of real serious trouble spots, especially after the spring when the water goes down a little. There's not really too many places that you'll get into trouble on this river. So for a novice or a beginner, it's a good river to float. Pretty wide open, not any real tight spots that you have to panic over.
All right, so now if you don't have a kayak, canoe, or raft of your own, don't worry. You can also rent one from the several campgrounds in that area. We'll be right back. Take time now to honor a local veteran, Charles Clinton Jr., served in the U.S. Army in 1968 and 1969. His hometown, Frontenac, Kansas, and we are proud to salute Specialist Charles Clinton Jr. He's tonight's four-state hero. Hey, if you're ever on the go and want to still be able to watch our newscast live, just download the KOAM Plus app. It's available free of charge on the Apple and Google Play stores, as well as Roku, also Amazon Fire TV. All you have to do, pretty easy, just search for KOAM Plus. An unfortunate incident on a New England waterway saw a huge luxury yacht go up in smoke. Authorities still trying to figure out what all happened. Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
This flaming maritime mess in New Hampshire thankfully left nobody injured, but it has left authorities scratching their heads. According to New Hampshire State Police, black smoke was spotted below decks on the 72-foot yacht, forcing 3 passengers and 2 dogs to jump overboard before the vessel became completely engulfed in the blaze. The group was rescued and taken to a hospital to be checked out. They were later cleared and released. The yacht was not so lucky. It continued to burn and drifted out of the harbor, where it sank a mere 2 hours from the initial call. The cause of the incident on the luxury boat, which was named Elusive, remains elusive. Authorities say the fire's origin is still unknown. A shipwreck from the Middle Ages found in France is still taking on water, but only because authorities say it has to survive. French archaeological experts have to hose down the estimated 1,300-year-old shipwreck's remains every 30 minutes. They say the wooden beams haven't been in contact with light or oxygen since sinking and are so fragile that the hot summer air could literally destroy them. And from a time-traveling middle-aged mystery to a trippy, hippy-dippy mystery machine man. Sorry. An Airbnb and Warner Brothers sponsored overnight stay in the iconic Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine sold out in mere minutes. Lucky guests will enjoy a stay in the van on the SoCal coast while enjoying Scooby snacks and a 20th anniversary screening of the live-action comedy Caper. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Some people must really like Scooby-Doo, huh?
Like, wow, that was a good Shaggy.
Like, let's check out a final look at the forecast, huh?
That's just not hard to figure out. It's going to stay hot tomorrow with highs near 95. We'll stay in the 90s all the way through Saturday. Big pattern change, fingers crossed. We'll drop us back into the 80s Sunday and Monday.
Nick, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Salon service is provided by the Wild